All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the BUHS number 6 meeting of Monday, February 4th, 2013. And we've started a half hour earlier than our custom start time to allow for public input on the proposed budget. We have reviewed this once before in public. What I will do is go through it very briefly. We've been on TV with our review of it before. I'll go through it very briefly, and I'll give a chance if there are other members of the public that want to show up and ask questions, or if it shouldn't be any board members. I think the questions at this point, since we've all approved moving it on. But basically, and the book is out. I assume everybody has picked one up by now, and so I'll just go very briefly through it. And the key page is page 36, which is the budget summary. And overall, we have come out with an operating budget that is an increase of 2.37% over last year. The administrators and their staff worked very hard to go through virtually line by line and maintain level funding in the discretionary areas. The primary differences in terms of increase in this budget are that we have allowed for increased operations and maintenance expense. We are not asking for any capital items in next year's budget to be approved as separate articles. Our facility is, we consider it a new facility, but there are parts of it that are almost 10 years in operation. And to avoid the situation that we had last time when we had to do this project, which was deferred maintenance and deferred maintenance, we are starting to ramp up the maintenance of the facility. And that was an increase of $206,000 right there. Health insurance, there's been a lot of talk about that. It goes up 14% approximately. That represents another $186,000. We do have some increases in liability insurance, and we are in the first year of a 3-year contract with the teachers, and we have been able to, through the early retirement incentive, keep that increase to a minimum. It actually doesn't have a huge impact on the budget. But health insurance, operations and maintenance, and a little bit for salary and benefits and liability insurance would equal that $580,000 increase. Everything else has been pretty much held level. Very briefly, for the individual units, the district-wide up $269,000, and that's where the good share of that is about $206,000 operations and maintenance, and that's on page 44 if you want to refer to that. And that's where the liability insurance increase would be. One thing of note that's helped us in the district budget is the actual reduction in tuition for special education. A great job, I think, has been done over the last 3 or 4 years of reducing that big bite for sending special education students out to paying other tuition for other places. So that's helped us. In the senior high, $159,000, 2.4% increase. We have allowed in there for an additional staffing for a student family interventionist. Every year, not every year, but averagely, I guess it's about 30 to 40 kids do not make it through high school, drop out. And this would be a position that would primarily work with families. Much of this would be work that would happen not during regular school hours to try to reduce the number of kids that don't make it through to graduation. And it's been shown that it only takes a few being saved to pay for more than pay for that expenditure. That's the only staffing increase. At the high school, we have put a little bit into the math and science departments for technology and textbooks, and we are supporting the Asian Studies program at a slightly higher rate than we have in the past, because that's been a grant program and the grant is dwindling. That's been a great program, and we put I believe $20,000 into that. So that's the high school. Basically, programs level funded and staffing pretty much the same. The WRCC tuition is up a little bit. The challenge that we face there is that over the last few years, a larger and larger percentage of our students at the Career Center are BUHS students, and therefore BUHS bears a higher share of the tuition. We have some challenge there in terms of attracting more kids from the sending towns, and that's being addressed in various ways, including working more closely with the sending schools to get some more kids here at the Career Center. BAMS is essentially level, a mere $12,000 increase, and I would point out that this does not factor in any changes in the Guilford middle school. I'm sure you've all, and everybody's been hearing about the middle school, Guilford trying to decide whether they want to send the kids here to BAMS. But our budget does not include that. It's an unknown, and it needs to be voted on by the Guilford voters. All discretionary items basically in the BAMS budget have been held level. Again, we have a great program at BAMS, the BEAMS program, which is the after-school enrichment program, and that is subject to a declining grant. That's been considered to be a tremendously valuable program, and we have to support that a little better locally. But overall, BAMS is totally level. Career Center up 2%. Basically, each program in the Career Center has been reviewed in terms of, is it effective to what is needed, both for the students and for the community and the businesses in the area. What types of things are we offering? How well are they subscribed? And we've reviewed all of those. There have been some changes and tweaks to the program. But basically, it's just a small increase. We have our medical and human services program has been very successful. We have added some hours paraprofessional in that, and a little bit in the performing arts area. And we will continue to review programs as time goes by. So our operating budget, as I noted, is up 2.37% and about $580,000. Then we look at below the, not bottom line, but below the first bottom line, and that is brings us down to a bottom line of 0.91% budget increase. We have in a request, a special article to establish a building reserve fund. We used to call that the roof and boiler fund. It's the same concept. Again, the facility is going to need things as time goes by, and we want to start by trying to get a little bit ahead of the game. And we're requesting, by way of a special article, to place $150,000 into that fund. You can see the decrease in our debt service, both for the project and for the track. And as a result, our total budget increase is less than 1%, 0.91%. And based on the health insurance increase, some salary and benefits, other salary and benefit increases, the Finance Committee and the Board believes that this is a really sound, responsible budget. It will have an impact tax-wise, and I'm going to ask Jim to kind of take us quickly through the revenue side once again, and we'll see what that impact is.
Okay, the proposed revenue budget is on pages 37 through 39 of the detailed, the large annual report. The bottom line on the revenue is increasing 0.91%, or $250,197. There are different lines that show increases and decreases, but really, for the most part, other than two lines, really net out. Changes in tuition and some state grants, various federal funding, special ed reimbursements. But the general state support, which is the line supported by taxpayers, is increasing $318,597 for the coming year. It's a little over 2%. The amount of surplus funds being applied to reduce taxes recommended by the board, which will be via vote, will be $1,150,000. It's a decrease over the current year of $68,000. So if you take the two figures, the $318,000 minus the $68,000, we're right at the $250,000 increase figure. In the annual report on pages 88 and 89, there's a detailed, it says Act 68 three-year comparison. It lists out details relating to equalized spending, as well as the tax rates for a period of 7 years. The minimum required in the state format is 3 to 4 years, but we like to give as much information as possible. On the lower portion of page 89, the by-community tax increase projected, and that's using a residential base rate of 91 cents for FY14. That's yet to be determined by the legislature. It could be more. It could be 91. Hopefully it could be a little less. I would doubt it. But by town, the proposed education homestead tax rate increase for FY14 shows a 3-cent increase for Brattleboro town, 3 cents for Dummerston. Guilford has a 1.36 cent decrease. Putney has an 8.5 cent decrease, and Vernon has a 0.5 cent increase. So to give you an idea, those rates on a $200,000 home in Brattleboro would be an increase of $60.40. Dummerston an increase of $61. Guilford a decrease of $27. Putney a decrease of $170. And Vernon an increase of a little under $10. So for the revenue overall, there's really not much happening as far as new sources of revenue at this point. One important part of the formula for education is the base education payment. And at this point in time, I'm projecting $8,897 per student. The current rate is $87.23. By formula, the Department of Ed should set it, the legislators should set it at a little under $9,200, but I doubt that it will go that high. 4 of the last 5 years, the legislature has level funded that figure. So the next number of weeks for the legislators, it's going to be busy. I did speak with Department of Ed reps last Friday. They're providing information, and normally what they do, as soon as they have any preliminary numbers, they will contact the business managers in the state. And as Bob mentioned, the health insurance increase, that still has not been set. It's in the budget for 14% as far as the increase, but there was kind of a difference of opinion of what the rate should be set at. I'm not sure who the determining authority is going to be when it's finally set. But between now and the annual meeting, most likely we're not going to get any change on that. But one of the players in the rate setting recommended a rate increase of 9.6%, and the VHI, Vermont Health Education Initiative people, that group recommended 14%. So we're going by what was recommended to us at this point. You know, if it drops later, too late for the annual meeting, maybe some of the town districts will be able to take advantage of any savings at town meetings. That's all I have.
Thank you. I just also would draw your attention to page 101, which takes a look back in history, actually all the way back to '97, but of particular interest of the years since FY09, after the project. And essentially, the first column is the operating budget increase. And if you take '09 through '13, and there were some years that went down, a couple of 3 years that it went up, but overall we're using the same operating budget that we were in fiscal year '09. So that puts a little historical perspective. Okay. Well, we don't have any members of the public here, unfortunately. Hopefully they will join us a week from tomorrow for our meeting. Hopefully there'll be a good turnout. Please encourage folks to come and hear about the budget and weigh in. It's their opportunity. All voters from the various towns, so we hope there will be a reasonable turnout. Are there any lingering questions or comments from the board regarding the budget?
I have a question, because I haven't been on the board for very long, so I'm not quite sure what it's been like here in Brattleboro. But in light of the newspaper headline today, the article today, I just wanted to clarify a point that Jim made, that, or just to ask for clarification. The spending per student has not gone up. The gist of the article seemed to be our numbers are going down, but our budget's going up. And I just wanted to be clear that our spending per student isn't out of control, rising or anything.
Let you answer that first.
Okay. Well, a good reason for us being in total high in spending is that we have a $55 million project, which is still the largest project, probably school project that's happened in the state of Vermont, and we have the debt load that is associated with that. If you didn't include that, I know we wouldn't be at the top. I don't know where we would be. And as far as our census goes, we have had declining enrollment over the last few years. If you look at the projections on out, and you never know what's going to happen in 4 or 5 years, but you can predict reasonably well by way of who's in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade now. And it shows that we're about reached the bottom of that decline. Next year we'll be down a little bit. BAMS is projected to be down about 15. BOHS, and again, this is not factoring in what happens with Guilford, but BAM's down about 15. BOHS actually fairly stable, and the Career Center down a little. The Career Center's a little harder to compare apples to apples because you've got kids taking one course and so forth. But and then it would show that starting the following year, it's leveled off, and then a slight increase over a period of time. So it's not like it's a precipitous decline that continues. And the other thing that point to be made, I think, as it relates to enrollment is that over a period of years, we have more students that need extra energy and resources. I guess I would put it that way. So I don't think you can always just say, well, we had 200 last year, now we've got 195, so it should be 2.5% easier to do the work.
But with respect to the improvements that we've done and that effect on the budget, this isn't new to this budget. This latest round started
Right.
at least.
Right. The
I mean, it's not a
demo,
new.
yeah,
Right.
it's reduced some, but it's still, we have, what, 10 more years?
Yeah.
Yes. It was a 20-year project, but
Yeah.
if you look at that amount of money that we borrowed and the impact that that has on the budget, and if you factor that into the per student cost, it puts us up near the top. So that is correct, looked at it broadly, the way it was referred to in the paper.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The 1,150,000, that's a surplus fund, you said? Where does that come from? Just we didn't use
Big
it.
chunk was special ed, excess revenue, excess tuition, yeah.
It wouldn't do us any good to reduce it by, because we got 150,000 in the special article fund. It wouldn't make any sense to just reduce it.
150 doesn't impact, because the revenue's there and the expense.
Yes. I was just saying you could take the 150 out of that one and move it up there, but it wouldn't make any difference. It's a wash. Yeah.
No, I think, to answer part of Melanie's question too, I didn't get the feeling that the Finance Committee's report said there was runaway spending. It was more the case of them stating some facts and taking a position on funding as their role for the town of Brattleboro relates to finances for the town. So, the headline in the Reformer was a little misleading. I didn't think it was slammed. I thought it was, the report was well written. I think philosophically, they have a different take on things than other people in the 5 towns do.
And this was not totally out of the blue. Margaret Atkinson and I met with the Finance Committee a couple of months ago to talk about, answer some questions for them and so forth. And, they have expressed an interest, and they've spent quite a fair amount of time. Michael Bosworth has been here at several of our meetings listening in, and we appreciate their input on that. Again, as Jim said, I'm not sure, the headline writer is separate from the reporter generally, and it creates interest, but I wouldn't call that a slam. As a matter of fact, there were several comments made about, efficient management over a period of time, and we'd look for ways to offset the increase in costs and the decline in enrollment.
It seemed to me that they're just worried about a trend. The trend seems to always slightly go up, and at some point, they think it's going to become unmanageable. But there was, like you said, there's a lot of positive information in there.
Well, from my perspective, I feel as comfortable about this budget as I have for several years. And not that I've been uncomfortable prior years. I've always supported it, but I think this was some pretty darn good work to hold this the way it is and still provide, do what we need to do right by the kids. Okay. Anything else on that? If not, we'll move into the regular meeting at 7 o'clock. All right. So first we'll have the clerk's report, and we will start with the minutes of January 3rd, which was our last regular meeting.
I move the minutes of January 3rd as presented.
Second, okay. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections? If not, all in favor of approving the minutes of January 3rd? Lost it already, yeah. Please say aye.
Aye.
And, okay, opposed? Abstentions?
I should abstain.
Melanie?
Yeah.
Okay. We do not, the minutes of the special meeting that was held last week are very minimal, or short minutes, but they will be presented for approval at the next meeting. Thank you, Jim. The meeting that we held with regards to the Guilford tuition. Okay, communications. I have one here, and we have a letter to the board from the First Congregational Church, West Brattleboro, thanking us for our donation in September to the church's Memorial Gift Fund in memory of Lynn Coram, and sent to us by the First Congregational Church, which is West Brattleboro, for our board member who passed on. We have, under Steve's report, we have another communication, I guess you call it. We'll deal with that under Steve's report. Does anybody else have any communication?
Yeah, I have a communication from the VSBA, but I will bring that up under old business when we discuss the specific policy that it regards.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the communications? Okay, that's it for the clerk's report. Recognition of individual visitors, and we have an individual visitor, Mr. Dan Braden, who is the founding force behind the Belize trip and looking to go back again.
Yep.
Fill us in on what the plan is.
Sure. Yeah, I came 2 years ago and asked if we could go last year, and the board approved it. And so I'm asking if we can go next year. I'm looking for support for something that would be very similar to what we did last year, actually just about identical in terms of the itinerary and the goals and objectives of it. So last April break, entirely during the break, for 8 days, we took 16 students, 14 of them seniors and 2 juniors, along with myself and 2 other science teacher chaperones, the now retired chair of the department, Jim Mayland, and Michelle Hood, who's now the department chair. And by all indications, it went fantastic. I mean, I thought that, the kids thought that, the other teachers thought that. And yeah, the students got exactly what I was hoping out of it. It seemed really formative for them, and even students who had traveled quite a bit before this said that it was, you know, the best foreign experience they'd ever had, really. So, I mean, on one side, it gives you the overview of it. You know, the cost is entirely on the students, so to speak. And so all I'm looking for from the board is just approval for it, coverage for subs in case we were not to get back somehow or some way on time, and extension of insurance. And on the back is the itinerary. And for this, I modeled it on the program that Cliff Lerner, who's now retired but was the science department chair at Keene High, had done for a long time. So he basically ran this for 25 years with a perfect safety record and you know, really great reviews. And so I used his guide and I used his plans, and I'm hoping to do it again, starting to recruit students in the next couple of months for it.
I move that we approve the Belize trip, extending the insurance rider and coverage for substitutes if needed, because this is during the break, correct?
Yes.
If needed, because of travel
Second.
issues.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion?
Is there any possibility of tuition scholarship for any kids?
If I'm able to find a source of funds for it, definitely. I mean, I haven't looked yet. I definitely can add that. I mean, the administrative process of setting it up kept me busy enough the first time around, but that would be a good thing to add, you know, for this round if I can.
I think it would be
Would that be extending the liability insurance?
Right.
Okay.
We have to get a rider on our policy every time we have a trip like this.
And then if you get the, I remember your report after you came back. I mean, there's an academic aspect to it. It's not just, and maybe if you can just embellish on that a little bit.
Sure.
Science.
Right. Last time the board approved that this for full participation in it, which included, I estimated, about 60 hours of learning time while in the country, and then quite a bit ahead of time. They got 2 credits, elective science credits. And every student who participated earned those, and earned them really well and honestly. Ahead of time, they had 3 2-hour sessions, which I led, lectures and video and computer work, basically. And they had to do homework ahead of each one of those on the history of Belize, and then the conservation aspect of that, on terrestrial ecology, and on aquatic coral reef ecology as well. And so, yeah, those required hours of reading and homework ahead of time, and then we had good sessions ahead of time in the country as well. We were able to get some lecturers there, and when we were waiting for boat ride or things like that that randomly came up, I had a series of readings to always give out to them, which they were eager to dig into and discuss. So it's definitely, if you saw the pictures, it's gorgeous, but we weren't just suntanning. We were learning quite a lot.
And we'll be happy to come back and give us another report after this trip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Any further discussion or questions? All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for doing the work
Appreciate
to coordinate this. Okay, next would be consent agenda. Is there a motion to go into consent agenda?
So moved?
Melanie, with that? And Russ, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay. We're in consent. Finance.
Okay, the Finance Committee met on January 9th and approved warrants 1118, 1119, 1120, 1122, 1125, 1126, 1127, 1128, for a total of $431,911.99. We also, on January 9th, approved payroll warrants. And the first one of these does not agree with what is printed in your agenda. It's the warrant of the 14th of December. And the amount that we approved, I emailed Jim and asked him about this. The amount we approved was $533,646.32. And in your agenda, it is printed as $537,646.32. I'm assuming that that is just a typo. Then there was a payroll on December 28th of $494,367.44. And that's pretty much what we did on January 9th. We were given a copy of the audit to review, to go look through, and will be discussed. Then we met again on January 23rd and approved warrant numbers 1130, 1132, 1133, 1134, 1135, 1136, and 1137 for a total of $220,529.59. and there were no payrolls on the 23rd. But we once again reviewed the budget for the annual meeting and reviewed and discussed the amounts for the agreement for the Guilford Middle School proposal. Did we do anything else, Bob?
That was the basics of it. We've been reviewing the budget, various things related to the budget each time. Up till now, we have full board approval, and the middle school situation has been resolved from our perspective anyway with the special meeting last week. Our next meeting is Wednesday, February 6th, right?
Yes.
It is.
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Lori's
Come
favorite
on.
time to have a meeting.
Come on, come on.
What was warrant 1136? I mean, I should be asking about a warrant that.
We
is a
discussed
lot of
that in
money.
great
I can forward it to you if you want.
$2.30. That's probably the smallest one I've ever seen.
I'm curious.
I can't remember. Styrofoam cups.
What was building trades? It was probably some nails or screws or
Yeah,
a
probably was.
tube of glue or something like that.
Okay, is that it for finance?
That's all that I have.
Okay, thank you. Planning and policy.
Planning and policy met this evening to go over the policies that we'll be reviewing under unfinished business.
Okay. Teacher curriculum.
Has not met since our last meeting.
BAMS committee.
Also has not met since our last meeting.
WRCC committee.
Also, it's not since our last meeting.
Okay. All right, anything else for consent? If not, is there a motion to accept?
I move we accept consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, Lori second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Administrative reports. Ingrid is away tonight at the Guilford meeting, explaining all the wonderfulness of BAMS to the Guilford. I guess they're having a parents meeting too with the school board, is that correct? And I did indirectly receive a communication. Actually, I was copied on it, and I think probably she would have mentioned this tonight, so I will. She had sent a letter to Jimmy Carlin and Catherine Mason of Guilford, who donated their Yamaha upright piano to the school, which is getting great use in Patty Meyer's class, the choral classroom. So that was a really nice and generous gift from Catherine and Jimmy that was made recently. Okay. BOHS administration. That would be you.
Wow. Ingrid really isn't here. So I've got several things tonight. First, I'd like to share copies of the latest copies of the newsletter. And this went home, I believe, last week. That you can read that at your leisure. I'm going to revisit one thing, visitor policy changes, a little bit later. But as usual, it's full of good information from all of our departments and lists some important dates that are coming up as well. And Andrea Goggin, a paraprofessional, has taken over the newsletter, and she's doing a great job and really making it her own, so it's nice to see that. The other publication I have to share is the Laughlin News. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's the parent link with our own, could you look at, with our own Laughlin Francis on the cover. It's a great, I need one left. It's a good issue. A few highlights in there. You know, wonderful article about Laughlin and his activities. Also a great tribute to Mr. Blomgren as well, introduction to some new teachers, and a little bit about National Honor Society. So again, Nancy Olson and her class have done a great job putting that together and getting it out. This weekend, we were proud to have a team of Jordan Wong, Nate Monday, and Sam O'Brien represent BUHS in the Junior Iron Chef competition. And they traveled to Burlington and made a wonderful potato, carrot, and potato beet gnocchi with creamy pesto sauce. And their dish was well received. Many of their parents, teachers, and friends came up to watch them as well. Cafe Services paid the entry fee for the team and also provided chef coats and hats for all of the team members to wear. And thank you to Sandy Cormier for doing that, along with Lynn Thurber. We're really grateful for that. In the art department, we've had several students honored in statewide competition for scholastic art. And these are, again, from statewide. I believe there's only one other school in Vermont that has as many winners as we do. And they are Zoe Chain, Annie Gagnon-Birch, Jess Mann, Una Arcaria, Marcus Shapiro, Saskia Bailey de Bruin, Olivia Ham, Sam Harrison, Fern Johansson, Mesa Kennedy, Marcus Shapiro, Michaela Shea Gander, and Phoebe Wolfman for 2 different pieces. So, we continue to really excel in the arts, and it's great to see that.
What's the total number?
10. Along those same lines, next week, February 14th, 15th, and 16th, Gypsy opens for 3 performances. Our musicals are always great to watch, and we're looking forward to those shows. They worked very hard this year to try and top last year when they did Chicago, and I think Gypsy's going to be great. I've seen a couple of the rehearsals, and the cast and crew are really excited about it. Last Thursday, we hosted our 8th grade parent night. The turnout was not as robust as I would hope. One of the things that I had intended to do last week was ask our sending school principals to use the Alert Now system to remind 8th grade parents, but with events last week, it didn't seem appropriate to ask them to do that for something like an 8th grade parent night. We are beginning scheduling for the 2013-14 school year, and tomorrow Paul Cohen begins his traveling roadshow, going to all of the sending schools, meeting with every single 8th grader, talking to them about potential programs and what they might study. Also, next Wednesday on the 6th, our classical language department is hosting the foreign language department from Burn Burton Academy, and they're coming to observe our foreign language teachers and see the special way that we actually teach foreign language, with our emphasis on oral competency rather than written and read. So we're very honored to have them come visit us. And that is a tribute to Judy Abascal, who really worked hard to go out there and network with other schools and share information. In light of last week, I wanted to take a second and talk a little bit about safety and security. And Dave, I'm sure, will chime in as well. I was really pleased last week with the response of our teachers and our students. Our students asked a lot of really good questions. They asked some procedural questions. Teachers were very supportive of students and also supportive of the administration, and they asked us how they could help. They asked us what they needed to look for, what they needed to be aware of, and we had a great faculty discussion about that. I talked to a lot of parents last week. They expressed concern, but many of the parents were grateful for what we did. They were glad that our teachers were so responsive. Along those lines, even before this happened, we've begun to consult more closely with local law enforcement, including the sheriff, the Brattleboro Police Department, and our own SRO. And we've had a couple of meetings. We had one 2 weeks ago where we talked about our own protocols and procedures. And local law enforcement and state law enforcement have been very helpful, helping us to really evaluate what we're doing and to help us have a more coordinated response. One of the changes that probably the only change that people will notice at BOHS is our visitor policy, and that's outlined on the front of the newsletter. And there's also a letter that went home to parents. And what we're really asking is we're asking that if parents are visiting the school or other folks are visiting, that if possible they make an appointment so we know who to expect. We have an internal visitor form that our front office staff can consult and see who's scheduled to come in so we know who's coming and who they're visiting to minimize surprises for us. And also we're asking visitors that we're not familiar with for a photo ID so we can just verify who they are and where they're going. And we are just asking people to give us a heads up if they're coming by. I mean, we're not going to turn people away, obviously, but we just like to know who we should expect.
Has there been any backlash?
Not one. The only comment I had from a parent was wanting metal detectors and things like that at our entrances. And we discussed that and didn't go any further than that. Finally, and I'm really sad about this, I am here to let the board know that our Director of Counseling, Paul Cohen, has submitted his letter of resignation. He is going to finish the year. He intended to really just stay 1 year, but actually has stayed for 3. In his short time here, Paul has helped us streamline our scheduling process, has really helped our counseling department develop an identity, and really helped them focus themselves on their mission to support students and families. And on a personal note, I really look at Paul as a strong advocate for kids and also somebody I can bounce an idea off of. And so we're very sad to see Paul go, but we're really glad that we had Paul here when we did. So I would ask the board to accept his resignation at the end of this year.
Okay, we can go ahead and do that now if there's a motion.
I just have one question. On that incident, whatever it was, did parents get an email the night before, or how were they alerted? As I was getting calls like at 9 o'clock at night asking what was going on, I had no idea.
Dave and Ingrid, I can only speak for what happened at UHS. Dave, Ingrid, and I were given a script from Dr. Staley to send out an alert now that we sent out. I then sent a follow-up email to my staff just so they would know. And just to let them know that if they needed to come see me in the morning, they should. But that's really, that was the only, that alert now, that first one was the initial communication.
And where does that first alert go?
That goes to all of our staff and all of our students. So.
It brings up an interesting point of maybe if it's appropriate, an email to board members in the future might be, because I got a call or two as
I got
well.
several calls.
Yeah, I got several calls as well.
You might want to be kept in the loop.
Would it be helpful to put you on the alert now?
Yeah.
You know about,
Well,
you
the
know
alert
about
now
snow
is-
days.
Yeah.
I mean, do you want it about snow days?
We find out about that.
Yeah, I know.
Well, about being a parent. I mean,
Right.
Right, some of
we're
us
in the loop. Yeah.
Get it, don't think about it, that would be good for the rest of the board.
Yeah, those of us that don't actually have
Yes.
students in the school, I think it would be helpful to be on the Alert Now system just because I got several calls that night and I had no idea what was going on.
Sure.
When you get those calls at midnight, just give them Mr. Perrin's phone number.
Absolutely. Dr. Staley.
Luckily,
Dr.
luckily none of them were at midnight. They were 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But
Mine went out a little after 9. So.
Ruth?
I move that we accept with regret Mr. Collins' resignation, effective at the end of the school year.
Second. Ricky? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? Even though we might like to be opposed, I guess we can't be. Okay, that it?
That's it. Thank
Let's
you.
move back to the student council.
Okay. On behalf of student council and the student body, I would like to thank both teachers and administration. I think that in face of the security threat, those of us who did show up. Felt very safe on Monday, and as more students came back to the school throughout the week, it was definitely a climate in which students did feel safe and welcomed and were able to come to school and focus on education, which is obviously what we're here for. Aside from that, on a cheerier note, Student Council is working on developing a variety show to bring teachers, students, and even administration together. This man over here has said he will, along with other assistant principals, perform the Gangnam style dance. I don't know if board members would like to attend.
We should know when that is so we can.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
I'm sorry, what kind of dance?
The Gangnam style dance.
I'm not sure.
You should tape it.
Yeah.
You can Google it, it's
Why don't we
interesting.
get a demonstration?
I think not. You'll have to pay to see the show, Ruth.
And Student Council is also planning on helping students transition to the ACE block system, which should be coming March.
Yep.
And that's it.
What is the ACE block system?
I actually have no idea.
One of the things we're looking at is we're realizing that a lot of our students don't have ready access to teachers before or after school because of busing or because they have obligations after school. So we're going to follow the lead of some of the schools in the area, and we're going to try something called, we're calling it an ACE block, and it's basically 2 days a week we're going to designate a period of time for directed study where teachers can call students back to get support in their classes. So if a student misses a biology lab, biology teacher can say, why don't you come on back, finish that lab. Student need to make up homework, they can get that done. Students that are doing group projects that want to collaborate, who happen to live in Putney and Vernon and Guilford, they can collaborate together during that time. So more details on that as we begin to roll it out.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations.
It's quite famous all around the state.
Did you sign this?
Mr. Coughlin, Career Center News.
Well, among other things, I'm going to assure you that I will not dance. It's probably something we don't want to see, for sure. I have to echo Mr. Perrin's feelings about the security issues last week, but generally I found that the parents of the kids coming to the Career Center were very supportive of what we were doing, and also that the cooperation we received from the local law enforcement agencies was real sincere. That it was nice to know that if there was an issue, that I think there's some real help in the area. So it's good to see some, authority around the school when you need it. Not that we're not in my authority, but different kinds of authority at that time. So it was a week of learning experiences, I think, for sure, as we went through that, including the fire alarm that went off in the middle of the first day, which caused a certain amount of alarm. However, we all got through that, and in the midst of the snow and cold. Anyways, Monday was an interesting day. As we've now ended the first semester, students in our robotics program have developed certain robots according to the competitions that are out there. There are several competitions that are actually organized on a worldwide basis. And in the VEX robotics competition, we had a student, Kyle Champney, who actually has earned an invitation to the VEX Robotics High School World Championships in May in Anaheim, California. It's really neat in the way that this gets done, because in order to really win in these competitions, students need to form alliances. And the neat thing I liked about Kyle's final alliance, this is in Worcester, Massachusetts, at Worcester Tech, which is, although I think we're the premier career center probably in all of New England, there's no doubt about it. I'm a little bit biased on that. Worcester Tech is held up in Massachusetts as the premier tech school in Massachusetts. It's a good place. He ended up partnering with one of the teams from Worcester Tech because they kind of saw something that they liked. And in the final competition, their robot went south and failed, and his robot won. So in the scheme of the scoring, he comes in second. Worcester comes in first, gets invited to the Worlds. Kyle gets invited to the Worlds along with him. But if it wasn't for Kyle's robot, neither of them would have gone that far. So it's neat to watch students develop those interpersonal skills where they begin to understand that it's not just their own work that sometimes makes them successful, with the ability to collaborate and make it happen. So, and that we're going to wish them a lot of luck. We have a second robotics class starting up, or that has started this semester. They'll primarily work and train to get robots together for the Skills USA, which used to be the old VICA. For those of us who have been in the business for a long time, we used to be Vocational Industrial Clubs of America. It's now called Skills USA. But it's a student organization that allows students to participate in extracurricular activities based on their vocational programs. And in this case, the skills we're talking about would be the robotics competition. So that'll be coming up, we hope, in May. Thank you.
That was our, we've settled in now, the second semester. What's our census look like?
I think we're up a little bit, which is always good. I noticed in the report, we were at 25 setting school students in the fall. We're at 35 now. I always wonder where the extra 10 comes from or something like that. But one of the things that we've done over the last couple of years is create a fairly flexible schedule that does allow students to blend their schedules in with their sending school schedules, so we have students they're not necessarily here all year, but for part of the year.
Okay, thank you. Ron's not here. We do have, and we'll finish this up under new business. We need to assign the motions for next week's meeting. And I have that. We'll do that under new business. Okay, unfinished business is primarily policies.
Well, we have the block of policies that are just in the works. They were just warned for an additional reading today. We've already talked about them, and I don't really have anything other to say about E10, school crisis prevention and response, F4, searches, seizures, and interrogation of students by school personnel, F17, 18-year-old students, F18, age of attendance, and G10, special education. Those will all be warned for adoption next meeting, which would be 3-4. Policy F5, which we've been waiting for more information on. I have received that, and that is the communication I referenced earlier, which I will read to the board. I received an email back from the VSBA. I had emailed Nicole Mace, who was I don't know her exact title with the VSBA, but she is a legal resource there. She passed it on to one of her associates there, John Nelson. And the one thing that you need to know for this to make any sense at all is that our numbers got reversed. So our policy F5 is their policy F4. We just switched the two search and seizure policies, number-wise. So what John Nelson wrote me back on my questions was, Nicole Mace asked me to respond to your question about our model policy on search, seizure, and interrogation of students by law enforcement personnel, F4. Specifically asked about the inclusion of the sentence allowing interrogation of students without notifying their parents when the questioning involved possible criminal activity by the parent or guardian. This policy was revised in 2009 to include the sentence you have asked about, largely because some police departments had objected to a more restrictive policy statement that would have allowed school personnel to decline a request by a police officer to question a student without notifying his or her parents. The law enforcement people at the time said that such a restriction violated statutory law that makes it a crime to impede or hinder a law enforcement officer who is carrying out his or her duties. We talked this over with independent legal counsel who advised us to propose the less restrictive policy that has been posted on our website. Most importantly, I should tell you that we have been reviewing a number of our model policies in the past few months to determine whether any of them should be removed from our website because they address issues that no longer seem appropriate subjects for school board policies. Among the policies that we have removed is F4. The rationale for no longer posting this policy is that it basically attempted to summarize the state of the law on this subject, and the law itself is in constant flux as courts review specific fact situations and render opinions as to their legality. We therefore think it is impractical for boards to maintain current and accurate policies on this subject. As an alternative, we think school district officials should, when in doubt, consult their own legal counsel about whether to allow access to students by non-school personnel. In short, I think the best course of action for your board would be not to adopt a version of F4. I hope this information is helpful to you. Please don't hesitate to contact me or Nicole if you have any further questions about this. And that was from John A. Nelson with the SBA. So this also is warned for us to vote on adoption next session. The Planning and Policy Committee will be recommending that we vote not to adopt it based on the recommendation of the VSBA.
So that references our F5?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is, this represents searches and seizures by non-school personnel.
By law enforcement as we
Yes.
have, yeah.
Yes, by law enforcement.
Russ?
Yeah, my question is whether, I mean, if we follow through with that, we should also then vote to remove the existing F5.
That would be a separate motion that we'll bring up after we determine.
But
to
if that
not
needs
adopt
to be
this.
warned, I don't know when that would happen. But anyways,
So has the SU had any, I mean, is there a legal counsel that should be, are we safe not having a policy in place whatsoever?
Well,
Actually,
John Nelson is an attorney. John Nelson is an attorney. He's the, what is, does he?
He did not give
mention
his title, no.
Well, but that still would probably be my question too. What is the supervisory union? Are they weighed in on this? Or, I mean, obviously they've come up with this.
They adopted it in October.
yeah.
WSDSU board adopted this policy in October. So,
Yeah.
and I'm assuming some of the other schools in the district. did the
In
same
light
thing.
of Mr. Nelson's communication, however, at the next SU board meeting, I shall recommend that we revisit this particular policy.
Is there a policy committee on the SU board, or is it everybody?
I don't
No.
think they have committees except for a finance committee.
That's
Do
correct.
they even have one?
They have a finance committee.
Yeah,
It certainly would be
that's-
good to pass that information along so they're up to speed on what the state recommendation is.
Yeah.
Is that an email or a hard copy? Because you can forward it to Ron, or I'm the
forward
finance
the email.
committee rep.
I can forward the email to everybody if you'd like, if everyone would like a copy.
Yeah, well, particularly make sure that Ron
It
Nelson,
would
hello?
apply equally to the SU.
John
that does
Nelson.
that.
Right,
Nelson's
it-
the
it
state.
it would, yeah, I just want to know that they're in the
But
loop.
it's also important to note that apparently there are several policies that the VSBA has decided to remove. He didn't tell me what the other ones are, because I was specifically asking about this one.
That'd be
But we may be
interesting to
seeing
find
more.
that out without having to go through every policy and see if it's still there or not. I guess. Okay. So we'll have others for adoption, and we'll make a move on this at a later date and keep the central office advised as to what the latest state input is.
I want to thank Ian for his efforts in getting an answer to that question and letting us know. It's the status is.
Thank
And
you.
the whole committee.
Good. That's what they're there for. They're doing their job, huh? Okay, is there anything else under unfinished business? Don't see anything. Under new business, we've already talked about the Belize trip. And there's an item assigned motions for the February meeting. This is always a fun little adventure. The motions will be written up in big letters on cards for individual board members to make motions. There are some, this is kind of a little bit of a seniority thing. There are certain board members that like to have certain motions or don't like to have certain motions. Typically, the board chair has reviewed the main article, I guess you'd call it, the budget. That doesn't mean that absolutely it has to be that way, but that's been kind of tradition that one of the great privileges of the chair is to get to defend the big bill. I know that there's a couple of board members that have their favorites. So why don't we go down through, and if you'd like to volunteer for a particular article, go ahead, and we'll see. And if we get to fighting over it, we'll figure out a solution. The first one is, I move the reports of the district officers be accepted as printed.
And Sean had that one last year.
Oh, okay. Well, he might want that, and he's not here to defend himself. We'll put him in.
Put them there. Yeah.
Oh, you want to fight for that one?
No, I'll take whatever's left. Doesn't make any difference to me.
I move we give them all to Sean.
I second that motion. No.
Well, we'll give him that one anyway. Article 2, I nominate Tim Arsenal as moderator for the ensuing year.
I'd like to do that one.
Okay.
As a Vernon resident. Yeah.
Okay, I think Mike Hebert used to do that one, so. Article 3, I nominate Barb Nowakowski as clerk to serve for the ensuing year.
I'll do that one.
Vicki? Article 4, I nominate James Kane as treasurer. Lori? Article 5, I nominate Gary Carrier as auditor to serve for a period of 3 years.
I think I did that,
Yeah, you did it last year. Right?
But I did it for 3 years last year?
Well, it was somebody else for 3
somebody
years.
else.
They rotate. They have a rotating thing. But
Every year, it just keeps adding on. Gary's in there for 107 years. Okay, so Russ is going to take that one. Article 6, I move the board be authorized to employ a certified public accountant. Who did that last year?
Russ did that.
I was going to say,
You had 2 in a row. I remember that now. If you're on a roll, you do 2 in a row again.
sure.
Article number 7.
Three might be pushing it, but I'll do it.
Oh, this is our pay, payments for its officers for the ensuing year.
And Lori had that last year. I'll do it if nobody else wants it.
Okay, is everybody getting a bite at the apple here? We have 14 articles altogether, so everybody ought to have something.
Yeah. 2 almost apiece, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll do it. Can put me down for 7.
okay.
But these next 4 articles all have to do with the reserve fund thing. Should the 4 members of the finance committee take those?
Let's see, we got the 150,000. Well, that probably would be reasonable. Sean could go another one, right? And
I'll do 9.
okay. I'll be happy to do number 8. That's one of my favorite topics. How about 10? $1 million to defray expenses, that's a popular one.
I don't mind taking it.
Okay, Laurie. Education Reserve Fund, deposit. And then the following one, this big one. Let's see, anybody doesn't have any yet?
I do not have any.
I don't have any yet.
And Ellen, okay. If one of you like to take number 11,
Sure.
Ian?
What is it?
I move that the voters shall authorize the transfer and deposit into the Education Reserve Fund $422,833 from the unreserved and unrestricted fund. So that's and if there's a question to that or an explanation needed, Jim is always there for that, so you don't have to have you don't have to learn all the details of it. Article 12 is the $27,537,000, and I would request that one.
You may have it.
Yeah, you already asked.
Then Article 13, categorical grants and aid.
That one's mine.
Oh, that was Ruth's favorite.
You like the word categorical?
And how about Melanie take number
Expand
14?
categorical grants.
You,
Why, certainly. I'd be happy to do
okay,
that.
so Ruth is 13, Melanie is 14. And Article 15, other business, which there probably will not be any. So,
Don't say that.
you never know.
Do you need a copy of those somewhere?
So everyone got
Let's see, it's in the book, right?
Well, they're not exactly the same.
Not specific.
It's just numbered, and some of them
Numbered,
are always
but
the same, but some of them are a little different this year
Yeah.
towards the end.
Okay.
They always prepare something up ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Bob will give you a card. With
Yeah,
Phonetically
big
spelled.
lettering on it and easy to pronounce words.
Phonetical spellings.
How long
Okay.
does this meeting generally go?
Last year was an hour.
Doesn't go very long anymore.
All 89 people.
And it starts at what time?
7.
And it's in the gym.
It is in the gym.
In the gym.
This is not something that Putney does. This is a new thing for me. I didn't realize this
And
happened.
that again is
Dominated.
February 12th, which is a week from tomorrow. And we invite the viewing public to attend and participate. And hopefully the towns that are involved in the district will all have good representation there. Okay, annual meeting preparation is also down as new business. I don't know what else is on there that we need to do other than remind everybody to show up. Okay, is there anything else under new business? Anything else for the good of the order?
There she goes. Just jumping at the...
Laurie?
I moved to adjourn.
That was a shift.
I'll second it.
Ruth will second it. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstentions? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you. And the basketball game is just starting.